Roman dodecahedron is remarkable and unusual, because there's not many more than 100 known to exist.
For a long time, there have been a lot of fascinating mysteries surrounding the Roman dodecahedron. However, scientists have just solved them. But then, they didn't just solve these mysteries. They made discoveries that have left everyone in total shock. According to their findings, many of the speculations and theories about the Roman dodecahedron are far worse than we have all thought. And with this, all speculations have been laid to rest. But how was this long-time mystery finally solved? And what explanations did scientists give for these surprising discoveries? Join us as we uncover the solved mystery of the Roman dodecahedron. How scientists solved the mystery of the Roman dodecahedron. According to scientists, the Roman dodecahedron is one of the strangest objects ever found from the ancient world. This is because no one from Rome ever bothered to explain it. The Roman dodecahedron is a small bronze object with 12 flat sides, round holes in each face, and little knobs on every corner, has been turning up in the ground for over 200 years. And every time it does, it leaves experts with the same feeling. Surprise mixed with confusion. But that is not all. There is another mystery about this object that has left everyone in shock. The first people who found dodecahedron in the 1700s thought it must be a toy or a decoration. But then, more appeared later. One in France, another in Germany, then Britain, then Belgium. Slowly, scientists realized something shocking. These objects were not random finds. They followed a pattern. Nearly all of them came from the far edges of the Roman Empire, not from Rome itself. That fact alone stopped historians in their tracks. How could an object be Roman in style, Roman in metalwork, but absent from the Roman heartland? When scientists studied the metal, they confirmed it was Roman-era bronze, made with high skill. These were not cheap things. Bronze took time, heat, and expert hands. Whoever ordered them paid well. That already tells us something important. This object mattered to someone. But what shocked scientists next was what they did not find. No writing, no marks, no signs of gears, strings, or tools inside. Just empty space. Scientists believe that this emptiness was not careless. Here is the refined version with full, clear sentences. It was carefully designed. The inside was smooth, clean, and completely hollow. That detail raised a new question in everyone's mind. Why would someone create such a precisely shaped object and then leave the inside empty? Then came the Norton Disney discovery in England. This time, the dodecahedron was not pulled from a field by a hobbyist. It was carefully dug up by archaeologists, layer by layer. Here is the refined version with full sentences and smooth flow. It was found coin by coin and tool by tool, and there it was, lying beside Roman coins and iron tools in a sealed layer of soil. That discovery meant it had been placed there on purpose. It was not lost or dropped by accident. It had been deliberately buried. And when they lifted it into the sunlight, something strange happened. The bronze surface reflected light in sharp, clean lines. As the sun moved, shadows formed perfect shapes on the ground, pentagons inside pentagons. One archaeologist said it looked like the object was designed to talk to the sun. That was not a conclusion, it was an observation, but it surprised everyone. Then, scientists examined it under microscopes. They expected to find scratches, worn edges, smooth holes from years of use. Instead, they found almost no signs of wear, which immediately made the object seem unusual. The edges were still sharp, not worn down by frequent use, and the holes were clean and well-shaped, showing that nothing had passed through them many times. The knobs were also untouched, with no marks to suggest regular handling. All of this showed that the object was not something used every day, but something taken out only once in a while, used with care, and then set aside. That alone changed the story. Later, scientists tested a small number of dodecahedra for residue. Not all of them, just those allowed by museums. What they found was faint but clear. Signs of smoke, burnt plant oils, and resin. That doesn't mean dark rituals, but it does mean fire and scent were involved. In Roman and Celtic times, burning herbs was common in ceremonies, funerals, prayers, and seasonal rites. And that leads to something important about ancient life. In farming societies, time mattered. Seasons mattered. Planting days mattered. People watched the sun closely. They built monuments for it. They planned festivals around it. Scientists now believe that the dodecahedron may have been used to mark important moments rather than precise minutes, and to signal meaningful changes instead of tracking hours on a clock. Another unusual pattern emerged from the locations where these objects were discovered, because many of them were found close to rivers, ancient borders, and burial grounds. In many ancient belief systems, such places were not seen as ordinary locations, but were viewed as in-between spaces that existed neither fully in the world of the living nor entirely in the realm beyond. Although scientists do not rush to explain such findings as magical, they do take repeated patterns seriously when they appear across different sites. This recurring pattern suggests, in a quiet but powerful way, that these objects were not designed as simple tools for everyday use, but instead held a deeper purpose tied to moments of transition and meaning. There is also an important cultural backstory that helps scientists understand why this object refuses to fit into normal Roman categories. Long before Rome arrived in places like Britain and Gaul, local communities already had their own spiritual systems, burial rites, and ways of marking time, death, and seasonal change. These belief systems were deeply rooted and did not simply disappear when Roman rule began. When Rome expanded into these regions, it rarely erased local culture completely. Instead, it blended Roman authority with existing traditions. Local leaders adopted Roman clothing, Roman titles, and Roman public customs, while older beliefs often continued quietly in private spaces. Archaeological evidence supports this pattern clearly, especially in burial styles, temple layouts, and ritual objects that combine Roman materials with non-Roman symbolism. Because of this, scientists began asking a different question. What if the dodecahedron was created using Roman metalworking skills, but designed to serve older, local belief systems rather than official Roman practices? This idea suddenly made many confusing details easier to understand. It explains why the object looks Roman but was never described in Roman writing, why it was crafted with great care but used rarely, and why it was sometimes buried instead of reused or melted down. Beyond their mystery, Roman dodecahedrons have sparked a surprising debate. Scholars, enthusiasts, and even politicians have weighed in, linking these strange objects to powerful rulers, hidden rituals, and ancient power plays. Let's take a quick step back and explore the politics tangled up with these enigmatic artifacts. The politics behind the Roman dodecahedron. What unsettled historians about the Roman dodecahedron was how different it was from other Roman objects found in frontier areas during the 2nd and 3rd centuries. When archaeologists excavated sites like Corbridge in northern Britain, Augst in modern Switzerland, and Tongeren in present-day Belgium, they found the usual signs of Roman control and organization. Coins carried the faces of emperors like Hadrian and Septimius Severus. Military equipment followed exact designs used across the empire. Administrative seals and calibrated weights reflected Rome's strict focus on order and uniformity. And then, in the middle of all this well-documented Roman material, the dodecahedron appeared. It had no explanation, no writing, and no visible connection to imperial authority. It did not match anything else Rome produced for administration, warfare, or propaganda, and this made scholars stop and ask why it existed at all. This sharp contrast pushed historians to look beyond function and toward political context. By the 2nd century Common Era, Rome no longer ruled its provinces only by force or strict military presence. Writers like Tacitus and Cassius Dio describe an empire that increasingly relied on cooperation from local elites, especially in regions far from Italy. These leaders collected taxes, organized labor for construction and farming, and mediated disputes, often using local customs that had existed long before Rome arrived. Rome tolerated these arrangements because they worked. They maintained order, ensured tax revenue, and kept distant communities under some measure of control. Objects that mattered in these spaces often reflected these political compromises. They were useful to local elites, but largely invisible to Roman administrators. The dodecahedron fits neatly into this pattern. The dodecahedron's quality shows it belonged to the Roman economic system, yet its lack of imperial symbolism sets it apart from official state objects. This is not an accident. Roman power was meant to be seen. Coins, statues, inscriptions, and military standards communicated authority to everyone in the empire. Objects without these signs were often outside the control structures Rome sought to enforce. They might be valuable, they might be carefully made, but they did not carry Rome's official message. That absence, that silence, is meaningful. It tells us that the object operated in a space where Rome did not need, or perhaps could not exercise full control. But there is more to it. The lack of standardization among dodecahedrons supports this idea. Roman production was highly uniform. Amphorae used for shipping oil, bricks stamped with legion marks, even military weapons were produced in ways that allowed Rome to manage its vast territory efficiently. Dodecahedrons, by contrast, differ widely in size, shape, and hole arrangement. The knobs vary from one object to another. These objects were never meant to circulate within official Roman supply systems, measurement systems, or record-keeping networks. Their value did not come from conformity. That alone separates them from the bureaucratic objects that defined Rome's reach and power. This becomes even clearer when compared with objects Rome actively regulated. Weights and measures were strictly controlled, especially after the reforms of Augustus in the late 1st century before Common Era. Military equipment followed exact patterns dictated by central command. Religious items tied to state cults were usually uniform, easy to recognize, and intended to communicate Roman ideology. The dodecahedron resisted all of these expectations. It was precise, expensive, and carefully made, yet it was not standardized, regulated, or documented. It existed in Roman territory without drawing official attention, quietly coexisting with objects that reinforced imperial control. The political meaning of the dodecahedron emerges not from what Rome said about it, but from what Rome chose not to say. Roman writers were meticulous when recording anything related to control. Pliny the Elder cataloged natural resources, manufacturing, and tools in his Naturalis Historia. Legal texts preserved in the digest detailed property, contracts, and administration. When something mattered to governance, it entered the written record. The total silence surrounding the dodecahedron suggests that it was deliberately left out, excluded from official attention because it was not threatening, and perhaps because acknowledging it might have complicated
the official story of Roman power.
This silence also matches how Rome managed local authority structures. In provinces such as Gallia Belgica and Britannia, Rome often allowed existing leadership hierarchies to remain in place, as long as they did not challenge imperial order. Archaeological evidence from sites like Verulamium shows Roman-style public buildings alongside older social arrangements. Rome governed outcomes, not beliefs or symbols. Objects tied to local authority could continue to exist as long as they did not interfere with taxation, military recruitment, or public loyalty. The dodecahedron, quiet and unmarked, fits perfectly into this pattern. Viewed this way, the dodecahedron becomes less a puzzle and more a marker of political space. It existed in a zone Rome did not need to control directly. Its silence protected both sides. Local communities retained something meaningful to them, while Roman administrators avoided recognizing non-Roman systems publicly. This arrangement reduced tension, which was especially important in regions that had experienced violent uprisings only decades earlier, such as the revolt led by Boudica in 60 Common Era. In areas like Camulodunum, modern Colchester, and Londinium, modern London, the memory of rebellion would have made indirect governance safer than heavy-handed control. Objects like the dodecahedron allowed a balance between authority and autonomy. The deliberate removal of some dodecahedrons from circulation strengthens this interpretation. Bronze was valuable, especially during periods of military pressure in the 3rd century. Typically, objects were melted down, repurposed, or recycled. Choosing to bury a finely crafted bronze item instead of reclaiming its material shows a decision that prioritized meaning over material value. Yet this was done outside any known Roman ceremonial practices for deposition or ritual. The decision was private, local, and intentional. Historically, this reflects how communities handled symbols of local authority during transitions. When provincial boundaries shifted or leadership changed under Roman oversight, important objects were often retired quietly. Burial preserved significance without inviting attention. It allowed continuity without confrontation. The context of dodecahedrons mirrors this approach. Their careful placement in the ground, often alongside coins, tools, or domestic objects, demonstrates that their meaning was recognized but deliberately kept private. What also sets the dodecahedron apart is that it refuses to declare allegiance. Roman coins clearly show loyalty to emperors. Military inscriptions declare the identity of units. Household objects often reference Roman gods. The dodecahedron does none of these things. It exists in Roman space but carries no ideological markers. That neutrality would have made it acceptable to Rome, while remaining significant within local frameworks. It did not need to be declared, documented, or interpreted by officials to matter. This pattern fits with how Rome ran its empire during the High Empire. Historian Fergus Miller says that Rome often ruled indirectly, especially in places far from the capital. People did not have to fully adopt Roman beliefs or ways of doing things. As long as they followed the rules, that was enough. Objects that did not challenge or support Roman ideas could exist quietly alongside the empire's structures. We see something similar today. Modern governments often allow unofficial systems to exist as long as they do not interfere with the law. Local leaders, traditions, and symbolic objects can continue even if they are not officially recognized. Power sometimes works by ignoring things that are harmless. The Roman dodecahedron shows the same idea in ancient times. What makes the Roman dodecahedron truly remarkable is not just mystery, but restraint. In an empire that carefully recorded roads, laws, wars, and monuments, this object survived without any writing or record. It shows that Roman control had limits. Some things existed simply because they did not need attention or approval. Which mystery of the Roman dodecahedron fascinates you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, click on the next video on your screen. You won't want to miss it.